Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're having a good one. I'm Nick, and we came a long way in this Friday the 13th review series, but we finally reached the 2009 remake, reboot, reimagining, whatever you want to call it. We have reached that entry in the series, guys. Very excited to dive into this one, but first, I am not alone on this journey. We got the boys over at Good Real Hunting. We got Filthy Dan's film discussions. We got reviews and rankings with Robbie Sobel. And we got Moser Movie Reviews, all putting out Friday the 13th reviews the same day as mine. So go check them out. Links will be in the description, guys, as well as House of the Living Dead's channel. We'll be hosting a watch party to this film on Friday. And lastly, we got Jason Nike's channel, the J-Man's Movie Cave, who will be putting on an award show for Friday the 13th on August 13th, so you don't want to miss it. All those links to those will all be in the description, guys. Go check them out. Without wasting any more time, let's dive into the Friday the 13th 2009 remake. So Friday the 13th was released in 2009. It stars Jared Padalecki, Amanda Riggedy, Danielle Panabaker, and Derek Mears as Jason. And this was directed by Marcus Nispel. Okay guys, so this remake, reboot, reimagining, whatever the hell you want to call it, I guess it'd be more of a reboot, to be honest, because this isn't exactly a remake of the original Friday the 13th. This is more of a remake of the first 4 Fridays, different aspects from them all used into this one film and put a modern twist on it. This was produced by Platinum Dunes, who at the time were doing a lot of the remakes, Texas Chainsaw Massacre right before this. And this is a film that I really loved on release. When it came out, I thought it just breathed a whole bunch of fresh air into the franchise. I was really excited on how brutal and fast-paced it was. Like, this was honestly in my top 3, maybe even top 2 when it was released. I was in love with it. But to be honest, on rewatch over the years, the thing isn't as great as I once thought. It has gotten a little worse, and the flaws are starting to stick out more and more every year. So getting into our basic plot, we got a group of campers who decide to camp near Crystal Lake. They end up getting picked off by the one and only Jason Voorhees. And after 20 minutes of the film, we get a title card, and we're introduced to another group of new characters, and you're like, what? So that whole first was just an intro, like one of the longer intros I've ever seen, at least 20 some minutes long. We fast forward to 6 weeks later, where a man is looking for his missing sister near the lake, and she was part of that group from the intro. They run into another group of young adults staying at a lake house near the lake, and you guessed it, Jason starts picking them off one by one as well. And that's basically your plot for this film. There's nothing too out of the ordinary or crazy. It's just pretty much a modern take on the older films. Now getting into the positives. One of my positives is I really like the intro to this film. How they give you that little recap of Pamela Voorhees getting decapitated. Obviously it's all reshot and redone. It's not footage from the older films. But I really do like this shot here with it raining, and you get to see the last counselor chop off her head, and we actually see Jason watching from the woods to give that little perspective that we never really got to see before. It was all just told through campfire stories. And the cinematography just looks really great in this intro. I really like it. Of course, we get the epic intro right after that with our first group of people getting picked off by Jason when they're near his camp. And that's one of the best intros to any modern horror movie in my opinion. It's so fast paced, it's brutal, all the kills are great, and it really shows right away that Jason is no joke in this film. Of course, Jason is played by Derek Mears, and he has such a presence in this film. From the way he moves and runs, it's maybe our fastest Jason to date. He is no joke. He's kind of like a hunter-gatherer in this one, if you will, setting out traps and different things. He's honestly more human than ever, in my opinion, because it even explains how he gets to point A to point B so quick with the tunnels, and he has these little bell systems to know where everybody is. And it just grounds the film a little more, puts it a little bit more in reality. Even though this film is in no way grounded or realistic, it does help putting all these things in there. It brings it down to a more grounded level, in my opinion. As for his look, I'm kind of on the fence with it. It's okay. It's definitely not one of his worst looks, but it's not my favorite look of Jason either. And this movie is in no way like a comedy. There's a few comedic scenes here and there, but the tone is very dark and serious. This is not like your Jason X or any of those more ridiculous films like Part 5. This one is more straight laced and they're not screwing around. And I really appreciate that they took that more serious route on here like they did with the TCM remake. Of course, the kills in here and the gore are pretty fantastic. Some of the better kills in the franchise, to be honest, especially for a newer film. You got like the whole intro. Every kill in that intro is great, from the bear trap to the girl hanging in the sleeping bag caught on fire. That is intense as hell. But I also like the other kills, like the girl hiding under the dock, and Jason gets her from up top. That is a cool kill. I love how her head hits to get his knife out, and then she falls back in the water. Even the cop's kill is really cool with the poker going through the door and through his eyeball. Just some very cool visuals in this. And I do like the nods to the first 4 films, whether it be like the barn from Part 3, or like the lake house is kind of like the house beside the Jarvis residence, and or the sack for Jason's mask at the starting of the film. It's nice that they did try to put homage to those older films, and I really appreciate it. Now, getting into the mixed aspects of things, I'll have to mention the kidnapping. It's not something that Jason would really do before. But if you remember in Part 3, he also does something similar with Chris Higgins, or speculation that he did something with Chris Higgins. So I think that's where they got the idea in this one. And plus, she did remind him of his mother, and if that's the case, he ain't going to kill her. So I don't hate it, I don't love it, it's just kind of in the middle. I'm also kind of mixed on Jenna being set up as their final girl, just to be kind of switched out at the end for the sister, where we didn't really spend that much time with her, so I felt that was kind of cheap. I would have much preferred Jenna being our final girl. I don't hate this. This is more of a mix thing. I do like that they try to avert our expectations and try to pull the rug out from under us, but it wasn't that satisfying in my opinion. Plus, we got my boy, Little Kev from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Kyle Davis. He plays like the hillbilly in the barn with the mannequins and shit. It's like, I love seeing my boy in one of my favorite franchises, but at the same time, he's just so goddamn weird and bizarre. And it's just like, why? Alright, now time to get into the negatives. And the biggest negative that most people have, and myself, is the characters. They're just not very likable. I'm not talking about Trent. Trent's written to be an asshole, and he does a perfect job. That actor killed it in that role. That's why we hate him so much. But, no, it's even the nice characters. Everybody's is written as so generic. Like, I don't care about any of these people. Say what you want about the original Friday the 13th. If something were to happen to one of them, they would help each other out. They seem like they were there for each other, even though they would still crack jokes in that. Where this one, I feel like if something happened to one of them, they'd be like, oh, whatever, it's his loss. Like, there's no caring there. And if they don't care, I don't care. Like, I wouldn't mind partying with most of the characters in this franchise from most of these films. Of course, there's always one or two I would want to stay away from, but this film, there's really nobody that I would really want to hang out with. It's just they don't feel real. Like, why are these people even hanging out with each other? They don't even seem to really like each other. And lastly, they have to be the horniest group of people we've ever seen in this franchise. Like, we thought that Part 5 was sleazy, and yeah, it was, and it was directed by a porn director. This one, I think, is even more sleaziest. I think this is the sleaziest film in the franchise. And it's weird, it was directed by a guy who mostly dealt with short music video films and stuff like that. But the nudity is stupendous, I will give it that. For some reason, everybody looks like a model in this film. And this film is just not as rewatchable as some of the other films, even some of the cheaper, cheesier films. I have a more entertainment in those. Like, I can go back and rewatch those more often than this one. This one's kind of stale. It's not going to be as iconic as some of those other films, and it's just dull at times. And it's just a real missed opportunity for me. I feel like the characters. Why didn't you try to make another counselor film, another group of counselors running a camp? This is supposed to be a reboot or a remake, so that would have been real nice to see. Get Crystal Lake back up and running, you know. That's what I wanted to see. I don't know about the rest of the fans. And even like when they go to town in this film, the townspeople just don't feel very much like the older films. Everything just seems off to me, and it's just modern for the sake of being modern. And lastly, my last negative would be the way to defeat Jason. I thought it was pretty damn dull for how epic the Jason was. They like tie the rope around his neck, and he gets like hauled into a conveyor belt thing with a bunch of blades on it, going to hit the back of his head. And you get that cheap line, "Say hi to mommy," before she push the file and move on him, and I'm like, that's a really weak way to defeat Jason. One of the weakest in the franchise, aside from Part 7. That one's terrible. But this one just feels weak. Especially the final jump scare feels really like, oh, we have to have that in there because they had it in the older films. But it's not done properly or good at all. It's stupid in this one. But anyway, guys, if I'm going to have to rate this remake, I'm going to have to give it a 7 out of 10. It's not terrible. I do not hate it. It's a good slasher film. One of the better modern remakes out there, which isn't saying much. But it is. I'd say it is in the top 10 for me. It's just too bad that this was the last entry we got. And then now they're suffering with the court cases and the battles that seem like they'll never end. So we're like pretty much stuck on this note. So guys, let me know down below how you like this remake. Is it one of your better ones, or did this one just not do it for you? Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel to help my channel grow. And if you're feeling very generous, you can even buy me a coffee. The links for all those will be in the description along with my letterbox. And that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.